I want you to bring your attention to the space just behind your eyes. Notice the heavy, lingering pressure that resides there. It is the invisible weight of constantly trying to predict a future that has not yet arrived. From the moment we are old enough to understand the expectations of the world, we are handed a heavy, blank map, and we are told that it is our absolute responsibility to draw every single road, every single bridge, and every single destination of our lives upon it. We are taught that a successful life is a highly predictable life. Society demands to know your 5-year plan. It asks you where you are going, how you intend to get there, and what you will do if a storm suddenly washes away your carefully drawn roads. We are conditioned to believe that if we cannot see the next 10 steps in front of us with absolute clarity, we are somehow failing, wandering aimlessly, and falling dangerously behind. Because of this intense conditioning, you have likely spent your entire life trying to play a high-stakes game of chess against the universe. You lie awake late into the night, exhausting your mind by trying to anticipate every possible danger, every potential betrayal, and every sudden loss. You construct massive, elaborate defense mechanisms in your mind. You try to force relationships into rigid timelines. You try to force your career to match the artificial expectations of people who do not even know your true heart. You treat the unknown not as a natural, beautiful part of existence, but as a terrifying enemy that must be conquered through relentless planning and constant worry. But I want you to look closely at the tragic irony of this modern obsession with control. Think about the most painful, disruptive events that have ever happened to you. Think about the sudden losses, the unexpected heartbreaks, and the massive shifts in your reality. Did your endless worrying prevent any of them from happening? Did your heavy, detailed map protect you from the storm? No. The storms came anyway, exactly as they were meant to, entirely bypassing the elaborate walls your anxiety had built. The only thing your constant worrying actually achieved was the complete destruction of your present peace. You suffered deeply before the storm, you suffered during the storm, and you exhausted your vital energy trying to understand why the map had failed you. There is a profound, liberating truth hidden deep within the philosophy of the Tao, a truth that the anxious modern world desperately tries to ignore. You are not supposed to know exactly where you are going. The universe is not an opponent to be defeated. It is a massive, ancient current to be trusted. When you finally stop trying to aggressively illuminate the entire horizon, when you put down the heavy, useless map and allow yourself to simply stand in the mystery of the present moment, an incredible sense of physical relief washes over you. Not knowing the future is not a crisis. It is the natural, unforced state of a flowing life. You do not have to carry the overwhelming burden of omniscience. You are allowed to be wonderfully, peacefully uncertain. Life already knows the way, even when you cannot see it. To truly understand how life guides us through the unseen path, we must look at how we interpret our detours and our failures. When your carefully laid plans collapse, the immediate reaction of the ego is a sense of profound devastation. You believe that you have been punished, that you have made a terrible mistake, or that the universe has completely abandoned you. But the ancient Taoist master Chuang Tzu offered a radically different perspective on the things we consider to be failures. He told a beautiful, enduring parable about a tree, a story that completely redefines the nature of success and protection. Chuang Tzu spoke of a master carpenter who was walking through a dense, ancient forest with his young apprentice. As they walked, they came across a massive, ancient oak tree. It was absolutely breathtaking in its size. Its canopy was so large that it could shade 1,000 oxen, and its trunk was as wide as a mountain. But as the young apprentice looked closer, he noticed something highly unusual. The branches of the great oak were entirely twisted, gnarled, and bent in strange, unpredictable directions. The wood was deeply knotted, and the trunk curved in an awkward, irregular shape. The apprentice turned to the master carpenter and expected him to be in awe of the tree. But the master simply glanced at it, shook his head, and continued walking without stopping for even a single moment. The confused apprentice ran to catch up and asked, "Master, this tree is massive. Its wood could be used to build a fleet of ships or the grand pillars of a palace. Why did you not even stop to look at it?" The master carpenter replied, "That tree is completely useless. If you try to make a boat from its wood, the boat will easily sink because the wood is heavy and knotted. If you try to make a pillar from it, the pillar will crumble because the grain is not straight. If you try to build a coffin from it, the coffin will quickly rot. It is a tree of no value. It cannot be used for anything." Later that night, the spirit of the giant oak tree appeared to the master carpenter in a dream. The tree spoke with a deep, ancient voice, saying, "You call me useless, but you do not understand the wisdom of my path. Look at all the straight, perfect, beautiful trees in the forest. Look at the fruit trees and the straight pines. Because they were deemed useful by the world, they were violently chopped down. Their branches were torn off, their trunks were split open, and their lives were violently cut short to serve the frantic needs of others. They suffered and died because of their usefulness. But I have spent my entire life cultivating my uselessness. Because I cannot be turned into a boat, a pillar, or a plank. Nobody has ever brought an axe to my trunk. My so-called flaws, my twisted branches, and my failure to be useful to the world have allowed me to survive for centuries. My uselessness is my greatest protection. I want you to think very deeply about the twisted branches of your own life. Think about the doors that were violently slammed in your face. Think about the job you desperately wanted but did not get. Think about the relationship you poured your entire soul into, only for it to fall apart despite all your frantic efforts to save it. For years, you have carried the heavy belief that these events were tragedies. You have punished yourself, believing that you failed to be the straight, perfect tree that the world demanded you to be. But what if you were never failing at all? What if the silent, unseen intelligence of the Tao was actively protecting you? The job that rejected you might have been the very axe that would have chopped away your mental health and destroyed your spirit over the next 10 years. The relationship that ended, the one you cried over for countless nights, might have been the heavy saw that would have eventually cut you off from your true path and your deepest peace. The universe was making you delightfully, perfectly useless to a life that was never meant for you. Your rejections were not punishments. They were profound, divine redirections. You were being saved from the carpenter's axe. When we begin to understand that our closed doors and our sudden detours are actually forms of profound protection, a massive shift happens in how we perceive time. The anxious mind suffers so deeply because it suffers from a devastating lack of perspective. It looks at the complex, flowing reality of the world through a terrifyingly narrow lens. It takes a single, isolated snapshot of a moment in time, a moment of loss, a moment of delay, a moment of deep confusion, and it declares with absolute, tragic certainty that this single snapshot represents the ultimate, final truth of your entire life. Imagine taking a photograph of a person in the exact moment they are undergoing a life-saving medical procedure. If you only look at that single frozen frame, the image looks violent. It looks like a tragedy. It looks like pure destruction. But if you put the photograph down, step back, and watch the entire timeline unfold over the next year, you see that the cutting was absolutely necessary for the healing. The pain was the prerequisite for the cure. You are simply looking at an incomplete frame. This narrow, immediate judgment is the root cause of our daily emotional exhaustion. We look at a bad Tuesday, a failed project, or a quiet season of isolation, and we loudly announce to ourselves that our entire existence is a failure. To heal this narrow vision and teach the profound patience of the unseen path, the Taoist masters pass down the story of an old farmer. This farmer lived in a very poor, remote village, and his only possession of any real value was a strong, beautiful horse that he used to plow his fields. One day, a loud storm frightened the animal, and the horse broke through the wooden fence and ran away deep into the mountains. When the neighbors heard the news, they rushed over to the farmer's house. They stood on his porch, shaking their heads in pity, and said, "What a terrible tragedy. Your only horse is gone. Your fields will go unplanted. You are cursed with such terrible luck." The old farmer simply looked at the empty field, took a slow breath, and replied, "Good luck, bad luck, who knows?" The neighbors left, confused and annoyed by his lack of despair. But a few days later, the farmer looked out toward the horizon and saw a cloud of dust. His horse was returning, but it was not alone. The horse had found a herd of wild stallions in the mountains, and it had brought the entire wild herd back to the farmer's land. Suddenly, the poor farmer was the wealthiest man in the village. The neighbors immediately ran back to his house, cheering and celebrating. They said, "What an incredible blessing. You are so rich now. You are blessed with the greatest luck in the world." The old farmer simply looked at the wild horses, took a slow breath, and replied, "Good luck, bad luck, who knows?" The very next morning, the farmer's young son went out into the field to begin training one of the new wild stallions. But the stallion was aggressive and untamed. It violently threw the boy to the ground, and the boy broke his leg in several places. The neighbors, watching from a distance, rushed over in a panic. They wept for the boy and said, "What a horrible curse these horses have brought you. Your son is crippled, he cannot help you with the harvest. This is the worst luck imaginable." The old farmer gently bandaged his son's leg, looked calmly at the neighbors, and replied, "Good luck, bad luck, who knows?" A week later, the emperor of the region declared a sudden and brutal war. Army officers marched through the quiet village, kicking down doors and forcibly drafting every healthy young man into the military, sending them to the front lines where almost certain death awaited them. But when the officers came to the farmer's house, they saw the son lying in bed with a shattered leg. Deeming him useless for war, they passed him by, leaving him safely at home. The neighbors gathered around the farmer one last time, crying tears of profound relief. They said, "Your son is saved. What an absolute miracle. What incredible good luck." And the old farmer simply smiled quietly and said, "Good luck, bad luck, who knows?" The neighbors in this story represent the loud, frantic, anxious voice inside your own head. Your mind is constantly rushing to judge every single event that happens to you. It labels a financial setback as an absolute, permanent curse. It labels a sudden stroke of success as a permanent blessing, attaching your entire ego to the victory. Your mind rides an exhausting, relentless emotional roller coaster, throwing you into the depths of despair one day and elevating you into a state of fragile arrogance the next. You are constantly reacting to the snapshots. But the farmer represents the deep, silent intelligence of the Tao. He understands that life is not a series of isolated, static photographs. Life is a continuous, deeply connected current of water. A single event is never the end of the story. It is merely a comma in a long, beautiful sentence that the universe is still in the process of writing. When you label an event as a disaster, you are arrogantly assuming that you know the end of a story that has not yet been finished. I want you to think about the events in your own past that you initially thought were absolute curses. Look back at the terrible heartbreak you suffered years ago, or the job you desperately needed but lost. In the moment the door was slammed shut, the snapshot looked like pure devastation. You cried, you panicked, and you believed your life was over. But as the years passed, that exact heartbreak forced you to move to a new city, or it forced you to look deeply inward, eventually leading you to the profound peace and the authentic relationships you hold today. The terrible curse was actually the very vehicle that transported you to the blessing. The broken leg saved you from the war. You do not have to exhaust yourself by constantly evaluating your life day by day. You can stop playing the role of the anxious neighbor. When something goes wrong tomorrow, when a plan falls apart or an unexpected delay occurs, you do not have to panic. You can simply take a slow, deep breath, anchor your feet to the floor, and whisper to yourself, "Who knows what is good or bad?" By releasing your need to judge the present moment, you allow the unseen path to gently reveal itself. When we stop reacting to the isolated snapshots of our lives and begin to trust the long, continuous thread of the story, we must ask ourselves a vital question. What exactly are we trusting? What is this invisible force that guides the farmer's horse and protects the crooked tree? In the ancient texts of the Tao Te Ching, there is a profoundly beautiful concept that explains this force. It is called Ziran. Ziran is often translated loosely into English as naturalness, or more accurately, that which is so of itself. It is the spontaneous, silent, and entirely self-sufficient intelligence of the universe. To truly feel the physical reality of Ziran, I want you to imagine walking deep into an ancient, untouched forest. Stand silently among the towering trees and simply observe how the environment operates. It is a system of unimaginable, breathtaking complexity. Millions of insects, animals, roots, and fungal networks are interacting every single second. The leaves fall to the damp earth, naturally decomposing to feed the soil, which in turn feeds the new seeds waiting in the dark. The trees communicate through their root systems, sharing water and nutrients. The entire forest is in a constant state of perfect, harmonious order. And yet, there is no anxiety in the forest. The oak tree does not hold a meeting in the middle of October to frantically discuss how it will survive the coming winter. The river does not stay awake at night, agonizing over whether it will ever find its way to the ocean. The forest does not require a manager, a spreadsheet, or a 5-year plan. It operates flawlessly through the silent, invisible intelligence of Ziran. It simply is what it is. Now, I want you to contrast the supreme peace of the forest with the frantic, exhausted state of the modern human mind. We suffer from a deeply ingrained, quiet arrogance. We genuinely believe that our constant, vibrating anxiety is the actual fuel that keeps our lives from falling apart. We think that if we stop worrying about our finances, our children, or our future for even one single day, the entire structure of our existence will instantly collapse into dust. We use worry as a heavy, rusted shield, believing that if we anticipate every possible catastrophe, we can somehow prevent it. We have tragically mistaken our panic for productivity. We believe we must manually turn the gears of the universe. But look up at the vast, dark sky above you. Look at the massive planets rotating with absolute, terrifying precision. Look at the immense gravity of the moon, pulling millions of gallons of heavy ocean water back and forth across the globe every single day, washing the shores and dictating the tides. All of this immense, staggering power operates through the exact same silent intelligence that manages the forest. It requires absolutely no human supervision. The universe does not need your anxiety to function. The world will not stop spinning simply because you decide to close your eyes, put down your heavy map, and take a long, deep breath. You are not separate from this natural order. You are a biological and spiritual extension of this exact same universe. The intelligence of Ziran is currently operating inside your own physical body at this very moment. Think about the profound miracle of your own biology. When you accidentally cut your hand, you do not have to consciously direct your white blood cells to rush to the wound. You do not have to sit in a chair and aggressively command your skin to knit itself back together. The healing happens completely on its own, driven by a silent, infallible intelligence that knows exactly what to do. Your heart has been beating in your chest since before you were born, without a single to-do list. Your lungs draw in the exact amount of oxygen you need while you are deeply asleep. If this profound intelligence knows exactly how to heal the physical wounds of your body without your anxious interference, why do you not trust it to heal the wounds of your life? Why do you not trust it to navigate your career, to orchestrate your relationships, and to guide you through your darkest seasons? The agonizing friction in your life occurs because you are constantly interfering with your own natural healing. You are standing in the middle of the river, frantically trying to push the water in a different direction. You are pulling the petals of a closed flower violently apart, demanding that it bloom before its season has arrived. And in doing so, you are destroying its delicate beauty. To align with the unseen path of the Tao, you must practice the profound art of getting out of your own way. You must drop the exhausting, arrogant belief that your tiny, panicked, conscious mind is somehow smarter than the ancient, flowing current of existence. This surrender is not a sign of weakness. It is not giving up on your life. It is the ultimate form of spiritual bravery. It takes immense, unshakable courage to step back from a confusing, painful situation, lower your hands, and quietly say to the universe, "I do not know how to fix this, and so I will stop breaking it further. I am going to let the mud settle. I am going to allow my life to simply be so of itself." When you make this brave declaration, the heavy armor of the ego cracks open, and the quiet, healing breeze of the forest finally rushes in. There is a final, beautiful image I want to leave with you today, one that perfectly captures the profound relief of the unseen path. I want you to close your eyes for a moment and imagine that you are sitting inside a small, wooden boat on a wide, ancient river. For your entire life, you have held two heavy wooden oars tightly in your blistered hands. You have been rowing with frantic, terrifying aggression. You row desperately against the current whenever the river turns in a direction you did not plan for. You row frantically forward, trying to make the water move faster than its natural, steady pace. Your muscles are aching. Your hands are bleeding. You are so entirely consumed by the violent, exhausting effort of rowing that you have never once looked up at the sky or noticed the ancient, beautiful trees lining the riverbanks. You are exhausted by the sheer act of trying to force the boat to your chosen destination. But what if I told you that the river is already flowing exactly where you need to go? What if the current is not a hostile force you must conquer, but a profound, intelligent guide that knows the way better than you ever could? The water already understands the terrain. It knows exactly how to navigate around the massive, dangerous boulders. It knows exactly how to carry you safely over the shallow rocks. The only thing your frantic rowing is actually accomplishing is the complete destruction of your own peace. The violent effort is completely unnecessary. I want you to physically imagine the sensation of taking those heavy wooden oars out of the water right now. Pull them inside the boat. Feel the sudden, breathtaking lightness in your tired arms. Lay the oars down gently on the wooden floorboards. Now sit back. Let your shoulders drop entirely away from your ears. Unclench your jaw. Allow your palms to rest open and empty on your lap. Listen to the quiet, rhythmic sound of the water moving gently against the side of the wooden boat. Feel the warm, golden sun resting on your face. You are no longer fighting. You are no longer forcing. You are simply being carried. This is the ultimate, unshakable promise of aligning with the Tao. When you finally release your tight, anxious grip on your life, you do not sink. You float. The universe catches you. As you rest in the boat, you begin to realize with absolute clarity that every closed door, every sudden detour, and every quiet, painful season of waiting was simply the river gently pushing your boat away from the jagged rocks. You were always safe. You were always being guided by a wisdom far older, far kinder, and far deeper than your own anxious mind. You do not need to possess the heavy map. You do not need to know the final destination. The overwhelming burden of figuring everything out, of anticipating every disaster, and of constantly protecting yourself is officially lifted from your tired shoulders today. You are allowed to be a peaceful passenger in your own life for a while. Let the water carry you through the unseen path. As our quiet time together comes to a gentle close, I warmly invite you to carry this profound stillness into the rest of your day. Whenever you feel the familiar panic rising in your chest, whenever your ego demands to know exactly what the future holds, I want you to remember the twisted, safe branches of the crooked tree. Remember the quiet patience of the old farmer standing in his empty field. And remember the absolute relief of putting the oars down in the boat. Whisper to yourself, slowly and with deep conviction, "Life knows the way, even when I cannot see it." If this quiet refuge has offered you a moment of genuine relief today, I invite you to subscribe to our channel. We are cultivating a peaceful sanctuary here, a place you can always return to when the noise of the modern world becomes too heavy to bear. Before you close this video and return to the gentle current of your life, I have one final request for you. Please leave a comment below. Tell me, using just a few simple words, what is one heavy worry, one anxious plan, that you are going to leave resting inside the boat today? Naming your burden is the final step in letting the river carry it away. Drink a glass of water. Look up at the vast sky. Breathe deeply into your lungs. You are exactly where you need to be.